This is Fantasy Football Today on CBSSports.com.
Will Tony Romo have success in Seattle? Will Brian Quick stay hot? That's what we're here to tell you. Welcome to an exclusive edition of Fantasy Football Today on CBS Local Sports. I'm Jamie Eisenberg. That's Dave Richard. And we're going to give you some starts and sits at the quarterback, running back, wide receiver, and tight end position, starting with the hottest quarterback in fantasy football right now, not named Peyton Manning, Russell Wilson.
Yeah, and Phillip Rivers has been a pretty hot quarterback. Jay Cutler's been a hot quarterback, but Russell Wilson has been a special kind of hot. The guy's had at least 20 fantasy points every single game. It's been at home, it's been on the road, it's been everywhere you've wanted him to be. And now he's at home in a big game against the Dallas Cowboys. And Dallas has come out hot. They're 4-1. I think that this is a game where Russell Wilson can just pretty much do whatever he wants. He could go, I'm so convinced right now that Wilson could go up against his own defense and have a good game.
Wow.
And Russell Wilson to me is a must-start quarterback until further notice.
Dallas going to leave this week 4-2 because Tony Romo is not going to have a great game. He's going to struggle going into Seattle like most quarterbacks not named Peyton Manning tend to do. And I know Romo's been fantastic the last 3 weeks, but I think he gets you under 20 fantasy points in this matchup against Seattle in Seattle because they know how to defend teams in their building. And I think you're going to see Tony Romo struggle. He's been very good, like I said, but think back to Aaron Rodgers in week 1. Very good quarterback, good situation. All that time to prepare for that Seahawks defense, and what happened? Their game plan failed. So I think you see Tony Romo not finish as a top 12 fantasy quarterback this week. There are other guys you can start over him. Certainly the guys that we've just talked about. Russell Wilson's a much better starting option. Eli Manning's better than him this week. Ben Roethlisberger's better than him this week. Colin Kaepernick will be better than Tony Romo this week. So he's a guy you can get away from and sit on your lineup. You know what running back, though, that I love this week, Dave?
Marshawn Lynch.
Yes, he's very good.
Brandon Oliver.
He's also very good.
I'm running out of names.
I like Ben Tate this week, and I think you'll see Ben Tate come out and have another good game like we saw last week. Over 100 yards rushing for him in his first start since week 1. What happened in week 1? Well, he faced the Steelers and suffered a knee injury, had 6 carries for 41 yards in that game. But the Browns have done a good job so far. Every game this season getting a running back to get double digits in fantasy points in a standard league, and I think Tate keeps that going against the Steelers. So he's going to come out and do what Isaiah Crowell has done, what Terrence West has done. Think back to that week 1 game. Crowell, 2 touchdowns against the Steelers. Terrence West came on for Tate, had over 100 yards rushing. So Ben Tate, I think, has got top 12 potential. He should be started in all leagues this week.
Yeah, and the matchup for Doug Martin against Baltimore, I think, is really bad. And Doug Martin's been pretty bad to begin with. You just see what he's been doing. If he doesn't get you a touchdown, you're not going to get much yardage otherwise from Doug Martin. He's not even averaging 3 yards per carry. Baltimore's been pretty good against the run. I know the stats don't necessarily say it, but I like their run defense a lot, and I think this is a tough matchup for Doug Martin. And I'll add this. I think Bobby Rainey could start getting in the mix again there. I know he had those fumbles in that big Thursday night game a couple of weeks back, but I think Doug Martin's spot is in trouble.
Yep, his spot is in trouble, but a guy whose spot is just getting solidified right now. Brian Quick for the St. Louis Rams. He may be their best player right now.
I think he is their best offensive player right now, and they're going to need him against San Francisco because you look at that Niners defense. They've been great against the run this year, and the Rams probably are going to be in another comeback effort. That means a lot of targets for Quick, and he's been getting a lot of them. And in PPR leagues, he's been worth at least 14 fantasy points every single game. Standard leagues, I believe that number is 7 fantasy points per game. So look, we're looking at a great receiver who's finally breaking out in his 3rd year. Big size like Calvin Johnson has, and he's in an offense that's going to throw to him a lot. And his quarterback, it's not Sam Bradford, but Austin Davis is getting the job done. So I think we will see a good game from Brian Quick. Remember when we used to say we'll see a good game from Larry Fitzgerald? You remember when Larry Fitzgerald was a no-brainer, a must-start in fantasy football? Not so much anymore.
Larry Fitzgerald would die for Austin Davis right now with the way his quarterback situation is because it sounds like Carson Palmer not going to play this week, and Drew Stanton also probably going to miss the game because of a concussion. So he's stuck with Logan Thomas. Rookie has a lot of potential, but I think he's going to struggle this week in what should be a dream matchup. So I wouldn't be surprised if Fitzgerald maybe catches a touchdown because the Redskins defense is that bad. But Thomas came on last week against Denver. Granted, he wasn't expected to play, wasn't prepared. 1 of 8 passing, though. Did throw a touchdown. It was a lot of Andre Ellington doing the heavy lifting on that touchdown catch. But I think Fitzgerald, based on what we've seen so far from this season, based on the quarterback, and he's going to be dealing with Logan Thomas, it's just not worth trusting Larry Fitzgerald right now. I know that's been tough to say. And look, we saw Thursday night, old receiver struggling, and Andre Johnson comes out, plays well, but he had his quarterback. Right now, Fitzgerald doesn't have that.
It's amazing that we're saying Ryan Fitzpatrick is his quarterback. Yep. Okay, Jamie, back to that Baltimore-Tampa Bay game. I don't like Doug Martin, but on the other side of the ball, there's a tight end that you like.
Yeah, I think actually Owen Daniels could be the best receiving option for the Ravens in this game, and that says a lot with how Steve Smith has played. But you look at Daniels right now, great matchup. He's coming off a game where or 2 games where he's got 13 targets. Last week against the Colts, 5 catches for 70 yards. So he's getting more involved since Dennis Pitta's injury, and we've seen tight ends do very well against Tampa Bay. Just think back to last week. Jimmy Graham gets hurt in that game. Well, the 3 tight ends, Graham, Josh Hill, and Ben Watson. They combined for 10 catches, 132 yards. Now, Daniels isn't going to have to share the field with a lot of other options like those three guys did. So you could see him come out and play well. They've already given up 2 touchdowns to tight ends in terms of Tampa Bay's defense, and I think Daniels finds the end zone for the first time since that 2-touchdown performance against the Steelers all the way back in week 2. So I think Owen Daniels is a top 10 tight end this week.
Yeah, Heath Miller is not, and I wish he'd find the end zone again like he did a couple of weeks back. He had 11 targets in that game, and it was against Tampa Bay, the same team that Owen Daniels is taking on. Heath Miller, just the targets aren't there. The matchup should be fairly high scoring. I think you might see some decent numbers in this game from the Steelers, from the Browns, but I don't know if you can count on Heath Miller in this game. I think the real weakness of that Browns defense is everything but tight ends. They're doing a good job containing them. Receivers, they might be able to have a field day. Antonio Brown typically lights them up. I think the running game is going to get going for Pittsburgh too, so I would sit Heath Miller.
Yep, for more of your start-sit information, check out Fantasy Football Today, Sunday at 11 a.m. Eastern. We'll give you more of this start-sit information. We'll have a little bit more fun with our other panelists here, Pete Prisco and Adam Azer, and we'll definitely help you win your fantasy football leagues. This has been an exclusive edition of Fantasy Football Today on CBS Local Sports.